Welcome back to the Art of Football 365. This is episode 67. We're joined by another guest this week. We have not had an interview here in a couple weeks. So this week we're joined by former football player Michael Berentes at the University of Wisconsin Whitewater, playing football for the Warhawks. He had a successful career. We're looking forward to diving into his story, hearing a little bit about the culture behind Whitewater football. It's a Division III powerhouse school, and it happens to be the same school that I attend. So I'm excited to hear a little bit more about his football story, his life story, and everything involved with his football career. But before that, Gronk spike the subscribe button for us. Leave a like, leave a comment, and continue to give us all the feedback you possibly can. We appreciate it. We grow with it. We learn from it. Also, check out our two sponsors, Driftless Quality Wear and Bocker Auto Group. For Driftless Quality Wear, use the code Football365 for 10% off your purchase at the checkout on their website, which will be listed below in the description. All right, Gannon, let's take this one away.
Yep. Michael, appreciate you joining us. This will be a fun interview. Kind of just going back when you were growing up, I know you played basketball and football in high school. I remember when you played for Rock Falls, you come up play Freeport when we did that back in the day a little bit. Was it always those two growing up? Was it other sports? Kind of what led you to football, ultimately playing that for the final sport?
So, I played everything growing up, as a kid that loved sports, baseball, track and field as well. But basketball and football were my main sports growing up that I fell in love with. And my dad and grandpa were both coaches, ADs actually at Freeport too. So I was always around sports, but, football just had that click for me that I love. So it's always been football. But no, I really enjoyed those other sports. And I probably should have played some of those sports, but I always focused on those two sports.
For sure. You say football had that click for you. What is that click? What do you remember back in the youth where it was where you just decided that football was the sport that you loved and that was your passion?
I feel like my grandpa and dad had an effect on me for sure. Kind of swaying me. They're both football guys. Grandpa's big time football guy. So, but the thing is like everybody just has to be working together on the field at the same time to get that successful goal, whether it be offense, driving down the field and scoring, or defense, making a stop. But if you don't have one guy that's not doing their correct job, like it's just not going to work out. And I felt like, everybody on the field, you go offense, defense, special teams, no matter where you're at on the field, you are important. And that can be, you could take that to, for Whitewater here, scout offense, scout defense, no matter where you're at, and sometimes you don't play on Saturdays. My freshman year, I didn't play a lick. So, you feel like you're not doing something, but, no matter what you're doing, when you're on the field, like you have an impact and your job matters. So I fell in love with that. And I feel like I fell in love with that more when I was here at Whitewater, just, being a high school athlete, being, a starter all the time. And then you come here and, it's a powerhouse, like you said. So you got to wait your time and, you really see, stuff start to grow and you really appreciate the game more.
Oh, yeah. It's a humbling experience. No doubt about that.
Oh, for sure.
So just the common phrase, the hashtag pound the rock, Whitewater uses that all the time. Some people, just throw it around on social media. What does it kind of mean to you, your time with the program and everything that it represents when it comes to that? Well, it's a little phrase, but it's a lot of power behind it.
Yeah, no, a lot of power behind it. So it's, we say pound the rock at every opportunity. So, in the weight room, we're pounding the rock, we're doing the little things, the 1% things, on the field, in the classroom. Like, it's just the little things that, get you to where you're at, and pound the rock, like you said, is, a little thing, but the meaning behind it is greater than that. It's just the work you put in and what you put out and what you get out of it is what you see from that. And, I like Pound the Rock. I really do. It's a great motto, because it's up on the walls everywhere. I'm sure Bryce can attest to that, but it's always in you and you always just want to, be great, so, and that Pound the Rock is kind of that motto.
So back when you kind of start to think about the culture that's been instilled with Whitewater football, mentioned the guys like Kumaro, Quinn, these guys are starting to go to the league. And then you start to look at it, NFL scouts coming to practices, coming to events left and right, starting to notice more and more guys at the Division III level. But it starts at the beginning with your culture, and the Pound the Rock mantra is part of that. Where would you say that culture started to be instilled, and what has it done for you guys as players throughout the last couple of years, especially during your playing career?
So I would say, that your first semester freshman year, it's just kind of thrown on you. You
Mm-hmm.
got a lot on your plate, time management, everything, and you try to figure out school with football and try and put that into one thing before you can kind of think about that. That's how it was for me, and I can attest to that for a lot of the players I played with. Is that second semester freshman year is when you kind of I feel like for those guys, if you're good enough and you trust the process and you follow everything, you and like and Moreau and even my roommate Ryan Wisniewski, he's signed with an agent and everything, and I just feel like after that freshman year, we can kind of relax and then you can kind of really focus on that culture, and it takes off after that for some of these guys, and it's awesome to see it. It's awesome to be a part of it. When Quinn was playing, we had like damn near 32 teams, like the whole NFL come check him out at practice. And then that pro day he had here, I mean, the pro day was crazy because we had spring ball right after, and he comes walking down and there's 32 NFL scouts down there waiting for him to train. And it's just like, man, to bring that here to a D3 was awesome to see.
Yeah, you talk about that culture shift and just the ultimate goal is for the national titles. I see it back there with your Stag Bowl flag. 2019 came up a little short against North Central. Not to bring it up on a short note, but last summer, my team, we lost in the NAIA World Series and national title. So I understand the feeling. It's a unique feeling. It's not something that you wish for other athletes to have to go through. Just kind of talk about that, using that as fuel for more motivation. It really is a different feeling when people ask me to try and describe it. It's one of those things that you have to be there and experience it in the moment. But I just kind of wanted to get your take on that.
No, I feel the same. Going to the Stag Bowl and losing like that has a big effect on your motivation. And that's what I think that I saw out of anybody. And the craziest part was that next season, we didn't have a game. We didn't have one game, fall, spring. The WEAC, our conference, just completely cut everything out. So what we had to find was that, that intrinsic motivation, that motivation of like, we're eventually going to play. But for this year, like, I mean, we didn't even know if we could have played because there were some rumors about, some spring games or whatnot. But, I just felt like that game and getting beat that way, at the big stage, it was definitely a motivator for sure. And I felt like we got to work, and we had, I can't remember the exact number of practices, like 90 something practices without a game before like our fall camp started for this past year. But it was just crazy. Like, seeing the guys just day in, day out, just steadily working, like, and we didn't know, it was just COVID. Like, we just had no idea, but everybody came to work. And and then so fun fact is, past 3 years, my sophomore year, junior year, senior year, we actually have fallen short to the national champions every year. So I feel like we couldn't get over that hump, but
It's not fun,
definitely
dude.
experience.
It's not fun.
No, man. No. And this year we wanted North Central bad, honestly. But it didn't work out that way. But no, it was
life
definitely
lessons, man. It's good life
for
lessons.
sure. It's definitely experience
huge.
for sure.
Oh yeah, I mean personally, you guys have both been in the national championship. I can't speak to that. I have not been there, nor will I ever. But I can't imagine it's a great experience regardless of the outcome. Obviously, you want to end up on top, come back with a ring, get a big old trophy. But at the end of the day, experiences like that, like Gannon said, life lessons, you'll take those into the rest of your life, whether it's in a job or whatever you're doing in life, you'll take those lessons into account. But back to that COVID year, having that year off, not really knowing what to expect, if you're going to have a season, if you're going to play any games, 90 practices. What do you think that year off did for you personally, kind of heading into this past season? Do you think it helped you grow and develop even more? Weight training, specific regimens that you went about. What made you a better player during that year off?
So when COVID hit in March, since March to that summer before that COVID season where we didn't have a season, my shoulder came out. I dislocated my shoulder probably 3 times within that. And one of them was in my sleep, actually. So it was a blessing in disguise because I ended up having surgery on my shoulder and being able to rehab that and get that back to, because it just, I felt like, I even told my parents this because when it came out of my sleep, I was like, I'm not playing. Like, if there's a season, I'm having surgery, like, I can't do this. Like, if it's coming out of my sleep, I can't play the sport of football, like, and it'd be okay, So I thought it was a blessing in disguise for myself personally, because I got the opportunity to have surgery and rehab it and have that whole year where I could really focus on getting that better. And at the same time, I was going to practices, like I was keeping in tune with the offense. And I just felt like, it, as much as COVID sucked, what in the sports world for me, it was a blessing. So that was my main focus. And then in the spring, I got to throw on the pads a little bit. I had a red jersey, but I got to run some routes and do some, indie drills and stuff, which, in hindsight sucked that I didn't get to practice, fully with the boys, but it was definitely good for me.
Yeah, I noticed something earlier, right, when you started talking about from the classroom to the weight room, and you kind of named those things even before you got to the field and all the on-game stuff. And I know that's part of the culture shift that you have to have from your coaches and everybody on the team being bought in, because those all go hand in hand. And like I said earlier, with the life lessons kind of pay off more so in the long run than the actual playing of the game, in between the lines and all that. Kind of just talk on that, because I know it's really big here for my baseball program, just everything that kind of shapes you as a man. And I know that has to go into Pound the Rock, all the models that are being thrown around in the Whitewater locker room.
So I kind of take it. So I came from Rock Falls, not school level. And there was, I'd probably say 10, 15 guys that were pretty bought in my junior, senior year and could tell that we'd been working and stuff. And, we went 3-6 my senior year. We were right there, a couple games within 8 points of making the playoffs. And what I thought after that is, like, you have to have everybody buy in. You can't have these 10, 15 guys buy in and then expect to be successful. You need all the bodies you can get working together in the weight room, out on the field, like the practice fields in August. Like, I just don't think you can have a successful team without everybody buying in. And that's like Whitewater, and I was one of those guys that I bought in and I wanted to be great. And going to Whitewater and just seeing that everybody wanted the same was awesome. I mean, you can't ask for anything more on a team, really. Is just everybody buying in, everybody trusting the process, everybody pounding the rock. I mean, everybody wants to be great here. And I just feel like it's hard to get that at a D3 level, guys really buying in. And it's definitely a culture shock, but I felt like, what I put in high school, I was ready for it.
I agree with that. I think definitely it definitely brings the team together and allows you guys to have success if you're able to have everyone all in on one goal. Because if everyone's not all in, then you're not going to be successful at the end of the day. It's just not going to work like that, especially at the college level. I mean, high school sports obviously a little bit different. You can get away with some talent things and still have success. But looking back on it, I think you kind of answered the question. What is your ideal teammate? What is your ideal type of coach? Someone that holds you accountable. You want to outwork everybody. So you kind of answered that question. But looking back on it, position-wise, what kind of led you to play the position that you played throughout college? Was it something that you always wanted to do, was catch footballs from the quarterback, or what kind of led you into that position?
So when I started off playing football, I was a running back at EPC with Zeke and Brighton and the boys, and I came to Rock Falls and they threw the ball all over the place. So I was just like, I kind of want to play receiver then if that's the case. Cause we had a great quarterback. So I was like, yeah, I'm definitely going to play receiver. Just want to get the ball in my hands. And then moving to college, I was like a tweener. So I was like 6'2", 6'3", 210 in high school. So I wasn't like fat, like super speedy enough to be a true wideout, but I was big enough to play tight end. So, and then when I came to Whitewater, they're like, why don't we play some tight end? So then after that, it's definitely a learning experience though, going from, playing X receiver in high school to putting your hand in the dirt at tight end. And then
Yeah.
the respect I have for linemen is just ridiculous. Going from, not really playing in the trenches a whole lot to put my hand in the dirt and being in with those boys I just have the utmost respect for those guys. It's just constantly in and out, just pounding each other. And it's just takes a toll on your body for sure. So I definitely have a level of respect for that. And then, playing tight end I loved it because, I got to learn the game a lot more, blocking schemes inside, tight end schemes. And then, your receiver, we had to know all that. We had to know what, we were running routes and then blocking schemes as well. So it was fun to be a part of and actually learn. I feel like I just was a sponge trying to take in all I could about that. And it was just awesome.
Yeah, I mean, going full complete position change in college, that's something that's not easy with a lot of adversity. Kind of talk about with the run blocking, the catching, or some of the hardest parts for you to learn to grasp as you were making that change, on the fly while also adjusting to college. That's a lot.
No, for sure. I feel like the hardest thing for me was my footwork inside. Just trying to get our coach he was a perfectionist, and I loved it because he would tell us, that because we got it on film, like that little half step that we took the wrong direction is going to make for us to not get that block cut off. So I felt like the hardest block for me was, we call it it's our inside zone scheme, and we're trying to get inside of that defensive end. And if the teams that were playing were different, but if he wanted to get inside of me, he already knew where he was going. So I needed to get going and cut him off. And I felt like that was just so difficult. But, learning about footwork and, where to put your foot really matters. And I felt like that was difficult to grasp at first. But and then route running, I've always been a route runner. I've always loved route running. So, and I feel like being a wide receiver in high school really you down, not being fast off your brakes and stuff. There's just so much that you didn't know in high school that when you go to college, it's just like, wow, you actually look at like all of this stuff. And it's really cool that that little thing that you looked at wouldn't have been talked about, So it's awesome though.
For sure. We ask this question to kind of every former athlete that we have on here. What is your best advice that you would give to a younger athlete right now? If a younger athlete came up to you and said, I want to be like you were in college. I want to be catching passes from a quarterback at the Division III level, or something along the lines of, I just want to be a successful athlete. What are you going to go ahead and tell that younger kid?
So for me personally, like kind of what I went through, I would just honestly say trust the process, as cliche as it may sound. But I just feel like everything that you're putting in, you don't think or you don't understand or whatever, but everything that you're putting in is going to go towards what you want to do. So those 6 a.m. workouts, those long practices in the heat, the conditioning, it's just going it with a positive attitude because, first of all, it goes by way too better football player. As much as you may not think it will be making you a better football player, it really is. And I wish I could take back some of that stuff, but it is what it is. But I feel like I would just say trust the process because your coaches and everything know what's going on. They know what they're doing. So.
No, because the way you're explaining it, especially all the little things that build up from when you start in the fall and then depending on what seasons you are until you get done with your season, until you actually get there and play in it and play in the national championship, those type of things. And then you realize all those little things really do add up. And that's kind of you don't realize it until it's after it's done. And it's kind of those things that you just need to live in the moment and really use that to your advantage, even though you don't think it is. It's an interesting take. And obviously with the success that you've had up there in Whitewater, you know that and you get that. And it's pretty cool to see that.
Sure.
But a couple other things I'm just curious about. Obviously, the weight regimens and all your off-season stuff's different from sport, especially with the power lifting that goes more so into football. But what was some of the things that really clicked with your nutrition, hydration? I mean, just little stuff that you found worked to keep you healthy and maintain it in and out of season. Because I think it's a cool thing for some athletes to know people's regimens a little bit.
For sure. I would say I came in at about 210 pounds, and After my, full freshman year, I ended up being 235 right before I went home for the summer, my freshman year. And, it was our head coach harps on just getting calories in your body, getting calories, because the amount of work that we were putting in, like, it didn't matter what you were putting in your body, really. I mean, to be a football player, you got to be a little bit bigger, especially at my position. So I needed to put on some weight. I was getting thrown around, being on the scout team freshman year. So I was like, I really need to gain some weight. So it was just, the constant eating. I was putting down peanut butter and jellies at any time I could, like just the water. We have a nutritionist on campus. So I met with her freshman year, and she kind of just gave me the rundown of what your healthy fats are, your healthy carbs, and eat like the most weight as possible and quickly. Was just eating, and it probably wasn't the healthiest, but I just knew I needed to put on some weight, and it ended up working out for me. So
100%. I do think that's important, especially to have a nutritionist like that at the college level. When things like that are at your disposal, take advantage of it. And I think it definitely helps shape you into the football player you are today, and what you became, and what the product you were on the field. Now I want to ask you a little change the subject here. What would you say you kind of modeled your game around when you were younger? Did you watch any specific NFL players, highlight tapes? I know for me personally, growing up, even just for high school football, I was always kind of a guy that would just nitpick, like a guy like Des Bryant, watch his highlight tape, learn from him, stuff like that. So was there any players that you kind of helped model your game around, or watch highlight videos through?
So, I don't really think I was on a specific player, really. I felt like it was more just anything I could watch, or anything that would make me a better football player I'd watch. But I mean, I don't know if I'd ever say like someone like specifically, but no, I definitely watched, YouTube videos of speed work, footwork, and did a bunch of that stuff. But yeah, I now thinking about it, I never really thought about that. Is I never really had one specific athlete, but any Twitter videos now, or in college I'd look at, and I was just like, yeah, like, because I live with a couple other guys and some wide receivers, so they'd always be on that, and it was fun to just kind of take that in and see how stand up in the middle of the living room and go through those progressions and stuff. It's just like, yeah, just getting better at it every time that we could. But
so, kind of, what's something cool, funny, maybe not a lot of people know about Michael, that you kind of do in your free time, the little free time that you've had over the last few years that you've been in college? But what's a little hobby, a little interest, something that kind of enjoy your free time with?
Probably just hanging out with the roommates, man, and just watching TV shows, just watching some movies. I mean, we've been playing some Fortnite lately, but I just feel like being an athlete in college, like, when your downtime, it was just hanging out. Like, and since my sophomore year, I've lived with at least 3 other people. So it's always just like, we kind of had the same schedule too. We always had classes early in the morning, we get done before practice. And then it was just like, when you got to come home and just relax, it was always just nice to just kick the feet up, throw some TV on, just, hang out with the guys. And, sometimes we'd just get with a bunch of football guys, watch some games and stuff. But I feel like, I don't know, I didn't really have anything that was my go-to other than just kind of chilling out.
Definitely, especially when you have a schedule that's demanding.
Commitment.
I can understand why chilling and relaxing is the thing to do, especially after long days of practice, meetings, and school at the same time. But I just want to say I appreciate you joining us on this podcast. Thank you for hopping on here with us, man. It means a lot. I'm glad we got to hear your story. We hope the youth is inspired by it and continues to work until their dreams come true. I'm glad you got to be a part of a great Division III program in Whitewater, had a very successful career. So I just wanted to say I appreciate it, and then I'll let Gannon kind of say his final thoughts.
Yeah, man, it was a really cool perspective. It was nice to see. We had some college athletes on, but just the level of success that you and your team and Whitewater's had it's really cool insight into, like I said earlier, to experience that and actually hear that insight. It's nice to relate. And then also for people that don't understand that feeling, I think. But man, it was a lot of different ways. I don't know exactly how to put it, because it kind of gets my mind going on just kind of memories, flashbacks, just similar thoughts and all that. Yeah. But really well. You carry yourself really good, man, and the best of luck with your all your future endeavors now that you're done playing the game, man.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys for having me on, and I feel like you guys are doing a really good job with this, man, reaching out to the community and everything, and keep it going, man. It's fun to listen and, you know, keep in touch with you guys. So
appreciate it, man. It means the world. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Tune in next Friday for episode 68. Until then, Gronk, spike the subscribe button for us.